quick video about my campaign, Arden Vul. Not actually more focused on what I really have liked about Arden Vul. It's two things that I want to talk about here. Number one um, is treasure distribution, the amount of treasure, where it's found, how it's found in Arden Vul, and also the challenges of the monsters, traps, and puzzles in the game, and whether or not and how it successfully rewards you for being persistent, clever, and having ingenuity. The first thing is magic item distribution. What got me on this subject is actually I was watching Chubby Funster's video about Gods of Forbidden North. Gods of Forbidden North having a bit of a problem with distribution of treasure. They're both old school games, but it's clear that the author of Arden Vul, whose name's escaping me all of a sudden. Hang on, just let me look here real quick. His Richard Barton. I don't want to not say his name, but Richard Barton clearly is an experienced game master. It shows in the way he distributes magic items and treasure and treasure in general. And the thing that makes this obvious to me is because I've been a game master for such a long time. His methodology is very close to mine. Though I'll be fair, his is probably more by the book and probably better. So my tendency is to put larger hordes together and have less treasure distributed through lesser encounters. I made up for that in my old games because you could buy magic armor and weapons that weren't magical but did give you bonuses, and actually they could have bonuses that are effectively magical. Don't want to go into it too much, but so they could take coin treasure and turn it into these kind of items. Scrolls and potions were relatively easy to get a hold of, so I tended not to give out scrolls and potions. And magic weapons and magic armors were rare. That's not by the book. In the Dungeon Master's Guide in First Edition, which is what I'm running, and it's what Osric's based off of. You're supposed to be the vast majority of your treasure that's magical should be weapons and armor and one-shot items, scrolls, potions. That's been followed throughout Arden Vul through the time that we've run. I've run a ton of this setting now. I run minimum of 2 sessions a week. Even when I've missed weeks where I haven't run for one group, I've usually run for the other, and often I'm running multiple sessions for the online group because I run shorter sessions for them. So 1 4-hour session, maybe you have a second 4-hour session later in the week. Sometimes I have only a 2 or 3 hour session, so I sometimes have two more, 1 or 2 more in the week. But the way he has them distributed, you can find the lesser items on lesser monsters, but it's not always that way. His charged magic items, he's added a few extra charged magic items other than just wand, staffs, and rods. There's a couple multiple use items which are lesser, like 5 to 7 uses, which is like finding a cache of 5 or 7 potions, except it's more portable. He's done a very good job. Mr. Barton's done a wonderful job on these on his distribution of magic items. Straight up, I absolutely 100% think he's done it. The very powerful magic items are more rare. They can be found, but they are rare. They're and appropriately so. Not so rare that your players become frustrated, but not so common that your players also are thinking about just throwing away these magic items. The one group has a tendency to sell expensive magic items, even though they're useful. Training is very expensive in First Edition, so they tend to sell off many of the uh, uh, more exotic magic items. They tend to keep the scrolls, keep the potions, keep the armor, keep the weapons, and then a few choice items stick with the group. The online group completely different. They have a very different philosophy. They want to keep every single magic item they find. The one-shot items are as much as the charged items, as much as rings and swords and anything else. They do look to get items that are not useful to the party at present. They do try and find a way to make use of them through trade. But I can't say enough about how the magic items. If the players are rewarded for persistence, and this is treasure in general. There are monsters that where it would seem inappropriate for them to have vast hordes of treasure. They don't have vast hordes of treasure. Sometimes they've layered, or they are near places where if you get into, they will have significant treasures. There are plenty of coin treasures. Remember, in old school, majority of your XP comes from the gold piece value of treasure, and from and unlike BX based games, magic items also give you XP, even if you don't sell them for gold. I'm not sure in BX if you sell them for gold, you get XP. I just can't remember offhand. I'm not a BX guy. I like BX, but it's not the system I would use. Obviously, I use first edition, and if I were to play something else, it would be second edition of AD&D, with a lot of first edition stuff added in. The distribution of treasure in general, of gold pieces, gold special treasures, large heavy objects that have to be moved out of a place, statues, busts, furniture. You can, if your players are clever, they can pull things off of the walls of these chambers, carpets, tapestries, heavy, but also coins. Of course, the most mobile of all the stuff, gems and jewelry, which can be extremely lucrative if you rake in all those. It has been it is a very, very well distributed, and it's so well done that it is almost invisible. It's almost invisible to me as a game master, because it's right where they should be. In this game, I do not allow them to buy non-magic weapons as easily as I have in previous campaigns, and so them having the one group never seems to have a shortage of +1 and +2 weapons. Since I'm using first edition rules, and I'm sticking to Osric style, so I don't have weapon specialization for example. So the fighters in the party are perfectly happy to have +2 spears, +2 swords. If the best weapon they have is a +3 Morning Star, or a +3 two-handed sword, well, they'll use the +3 Morning Star two-handed sword. And if they don't have this specialization, they're not special longsword specialists, so they're not fighting over who gets the +1 over gets all the longswords. One of the players has one of the players in one group has a flame blade. One of the groups in another has a very powerful magic hammer, and they're perfectly happy having those weapons in the party. Although the one character is an NPC who's dropped out of the party with the powerful hammer, which kind of blows. We'll see what happens there. The part of the two groups have been fairly successful doing this stuff. Like I said, the one group has focused on peripheral things, so they have not actually found quite as many magic items, though they the ones they have, they have, though they don't sell them in general. So when they do find magic items, they are pretty valuable to them. The other group has plunged right into the heart of Arden Vul, and has actually, because of that, they've found an awful lot of treasure, and they've had to sell a lot of magic items to make up for the to train and to do upkeep and to pay their mercenaries and to pay off their henchmen. It has been a very, very so it's been very, very well done. The other thing, of course, is balance is overrated in 5th edition, and 3rd edition and 4th edition. There is, though, a sense of balance in D&D. It is a game. AD&D BX very much focused on it being a game. So the way it balances out in these exploration style games, these old school games, is that you can't put all the encounters as combat encounters that are supposed to be balanced. No, you balance it by the players choosing their fights, and sometimes characters can bite off more than they can chew. It's very easy to do that, but also sometimes the party can just be overwhelmingly more powerful than their opponents. So both things happen. Fights can mean almost nothing because they don't cost the party very much at all, because of their power relative to the monsters, and sometimes the party runs into 1 or maybe 2 combat encounters in a session, and they must retreat because the cost was so great. They use so many resources, so many characters have so many wounds. I also use a critical effects. I added extra spells into the game to help to be able to mitigate the critical effects, because you have to do that. Otherwise, the guy with you have to figure out a way that someone with broken bones and bleeding wounds can be healed in a game that doesn't really have those kind of effects. So I added a few spells that cure that sort of things, and then but anyway, the parties have been challenged. There's been times where the encounters have been a little bit more than they could chew, and they've yet to have really a more than just one permanent death. I guess got to keep in mind that the guys I'm gaming with are very, very experienced now. Even the group that we meet face to face, the guys who are in that group for the most part have been in my games, including in my Rollmaster campaign. So they have a real sense of how dangerous the game can be. So they are used to thinking about critical effects. Also, of course, their criticals end fights early, which doesn't happen since AD&D by the book does not have these critical effects. Sometimes their fights actually can be done real, and there's an instance in a certain encounter where a few well-placed hirelings getting really high rolls caused a few crits and killed very powerful monsters before they could really become a threat to the rest of the party. But that still doesn't change the fact that the encounters are well balanced. Very scary monsters can be run into by fairly low level characters, but because it's an exploration game, there's no mandatory. You don't have to face those creatures to get from point A to point B. There's no point A to point B. It's a spider web. My players have investigated. I'm just going to name some levels here. They've investigated sub-level 15, sub-level 14, sub-level 2, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, They've investigated the ruins above the ruined city above Arden Vul. They've investigated the ruins of a fortress called what's now called the Thicket. Another player investigated mines that were in the New Forest. These guys, the game is not set up so that you have to go. You don't have to complete level 1 to get to level 2. In fact, both parties could completely ignore level 1, and there is no detriment to they can completely ignore every level and they can just decide that they're just going to investigate the 5th or 6th level of the dungeon right from the beginning. It would be very dangerous and difficult to do that, but it's not set up in such a linear way that, like, the weapons to kill the creatures on level 6 aren't on level 5. This is an old school game, and I understand those of you already running old school, you all understand that it is like that, but there's no linearity to it. They can go back if they think they've missed something. They can go back to the other parts of the dungeon. There's no guarantee that what they were looking for will still be there, as this is supposed to be a living dungeon. There are multiple parties doing it. Part of the reason for me running 2 groups is to help duplicate that, so that the both groups have to worry about what they've gotten done and how they've gotten it done, and if they've left something behind, because there will be other adventuring groups going in behind them. Right now, there's become a power vacuum in one of the levels, which had nothing to do with either group. And then there's a gigantic power vacuum in another level that has everything to do with one of the groups. And the two groups are basically clearing out areas together, not intentionally, but the one area is being taken out by one group, one area is being taken out by the other. Has cause and effect in the game, and the dungeon is set up to react to that. I don't really have any criticisms on this area. The encounters are not overbearingly dangerous, so that no one could ever solve them. There are puzzles in the game. There are traps in the game. There are combat encounters in the game. There are negotiate. You can negotiate. It's up to the party how to do it, but the game doesn't set it up so that this is a negotiation encounter or this is a combat encounter. They can all be combat encounters. The one group has very much a tendency to try and fight their way through everything, and the other group has a tendency to try and talk whenever possible. And that's the 2 different methods contrast with each other, and they're both successful. They're successful in different ways, but they're both successful. This is not really criticism for it, because it sounds like I'm praising it. I think it's just this is just the sort of baseline that it should be at. The guy designing the dungeon, the guy designing the adventure, should actually know what he's doing if he's publishing it and making me pay money for it. That has actually been my biggest gripe on adventures throughout my whole time as a game master, and I repeat again, as young game master when I had lots of time, I never ran adventures. I never ran other people's adventures. I always did my own thing. But part of that was often often adventures and stuff, especially if you start thinking about like stuff published in Dungeon Magazine, stuff put out in 2nd edition, which I had which 2nd edition was when I was really running a lot of Dungeons & Dragons right from the very beginning of 2nd edition. A lot of plot heavy, what's called narrative heavy play now. A lot of since it's not a narrative game, that means railroading. That absolutely means railroading in a game that's built on exploration and adventure. And that's not at all what you have in Arden Vul. There is no singular quest. The players can decide to do what the hell they want. And the design pays off in that way. There is a payoff for that. If the players follow their own path through these dungeons. It is one of the it is absolutely a strength of the game, and I know a lot of the new OSR stuff leans into this, but a lot of it also, as you can imagine, also claims to lean into it, but they don't really know what they're doing because they haven't really run OSR games. They're just trying to people just try and cash in on things, which is weird. I wouldn't think there's any money in the OSR, or not enough to do it, but apparently there is, because there are people trying to pay to put out crap for the OSR just to make money, just putting out slop. And I have seen it, and I've paid for it a few times. I've actually been burned a few times. Luckily, I'm very cautious about what I buy. When I got the first PDF for Arden Vul, I saw what I had. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy the whole thing. Same thing with Gods of Forbidden North. I thought it had some pretty cool stuff, but I could see from reading through. That's the reason why I chose Arden Vul over Gods of Forbidden North. It's because I could see right from the beginning that it was written to be used by experienced game masters who actually knew what AD&D is. A lot of people doing reviews too aren't very experienced game masters and may not appreciate, but and some of us who are experienced game masters may not really appreciate what he did. And I certainly am guilty of that. I actually very much thank Chubby Funster for putting up that video. It was a good video. Chubby Funster usually does good videos, where he talked about his little problems with Gods of Forbidden North, and it made me suddenly realize how I hadn't run into any of those problems in Arden Vul. Mr. Barton has done a pretty good job on the, the foundation. It's the foundation of the adventure. He also, I still think, there's some criticism out there that he overwrote, and I don't have that criticism that he overwrote some of the encounters. I don't really see it. There's, I think it's, I don't really see it overall in Arden Vul. I think some of the stuff in the thicket is a little overwritten, that he may have overthought a little bit. It's a smaller adventure. But I would say Arden Vul, the context given in the adventure that, hey, this used to be the cloakroom for priests of Thoth, but now it's this, and then he describes it. Usually he describes it, and then he makes the little note about, what it used to be used for. And instead of using bullet points, he just has an underlined section for here's the points of interest, here's the point of interest, here's the point of interest. There's no box text, which I like. There's still some pretty solid descriptions in it. I often read sentences of his work right out of the book to my players, editing out the stuff they don't need to know or stuff they haven't learned yet. But there's no box text, so you're not. If you're a much more descriptive game master than I am, or like making the descriptions much more yourself, or you're more competent at it than I am, you don't have to worry about a box text. You don't have to. And besides that, I don't like. I don't like box text for another reason, that sometimes they omit really important information that should be something that the players see right off the bat. And sometimes they state information too plainly, make it too obvious that there's something wrong. I like my players to be able to see what they see, and they can make a determination of what they think is dangerous. Again, I don't have anything else to say, I guess, about this. I run on too long, like always. But Arden Vul if you're a game master, and that's the reason why I don't want to give away too many spoilers here. I know I'm talking in generalities because I don't want to spoil things for my players who watch. And that's the only reason why I'm not giving out spoilers. I would be happy to give out spoilers if I was never intending to run the game ever again. Either I decided I've had enough of Arden Vul, and or I had enough of game mastering, or whatever. I would definitely give out spoilers on it to help you decide. My only criticism of it is that the PDFs by themselves are a little pricey. To buy the first PDF, you have to spend $15. To me, I think it's more de rigueur now to have more expensive PDFs, but I still think like PDFs shouldn't be more than $5 each. But I'm an old fart, so I'm not. It's not a criticism of the price point that Expeditious Retreat puts on their products, because to be fair, they are well edited and well formatted, and and just lovely piece of work. Expeditions Retreat did a really good job on this.